Yo. Hi, you're with Scott. This is Battery Exhausted, my channel. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear and your left ear. Hi, you're with Scott. I'm also Ganji Kid. This is the stream. And today we are doing, it's MC Strafe. MC Strafe, which way did you say was safe to behave in public? Which fork should I stick your eye with? MC Strafe. That's also me. Yeah, let's pop you out. Pop you out, capital K. And it doesn't work straight away. How is that? Why is that? Why did you disappear? Oh no, you're here now. You're here now. MC Strafe. I'm going to keep checking the chat today to see it still works. And I've set the stream up to just fire out at 60 kilobytes a second. I don't know how it works. Don't know why it works. It just works. So we're going to accept that and move on. But we didn't. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did to correct it. So if it does it again, I don't know what I'm going to have to do to fix it. But it's one of them things. Thank you for being an official Big Valley stan. Big Valley being the band that I do everything myself. I write and record all the parts. Some of the drums are electronically produced. Some of them are actually banged on a drum kit. What have we got today? Look, boom. We've got these artworks that we're going to look at. And they lead into the Bronze Age. These are all the artworks, the big artworks of the Neolithic period. So it's the end of the Neolithic and the start of the Bronze Age. And although I'm promising the Bronze Age, it's still quite a lot to get through before we hit the Bronze Age. But that's what we want to do today. And then probably get to Ram in a Thicket, which we talked about last week. Ram in a Thicket. That's where we want to get to today. So we're away. Okay, our first artwork, we've been looking at Neolithic. These are other famous artworks from the Neolithic period. So this is pre-Bronze Age. This is 7,000 years ago, the Jiahu Carving. So let's have a look at these. Copy, Ecosia, plant some trees, paste. Look at that, we've planted 570 trees already just through doing this. And we won't worry about copyright because these things are so old that any copyright's got to be a bit of a taking them. Are you kidding me? I mean, look at soft stone, I imagine, capable of carving a soft stone like that. But interesting detail and style. These shaped figurines, just shapes. They're objects. Some sort of process is taking place. Some sort of technical process. Really interesting. I bet you could study that for a lifetime, those 7,000-year-old carvings. But this is what I find amazing as well. Look at these. Wings of Freedom, Chinese flutes. I don't know, look. That's not thousands of years old, but that is. So they were carving flutes. They were playing music. Wow. Because some objects, you just, like a bowl or an object, like some of the ornamental objects we've seen, like that carving of a hyena that looked like a rat. They're just objects. You don't know exactly how they were appreciated, what they did with them. But there's no doubt in your mind, is there, that this was built to be played. It's a flute. They toodle on the old flute, didn't they? The sound of ancient Japan. Wow. Piping over 9,000 years. It's a bone flute, so it's not vegan. But wow. I mean, I'm impressed. And for it to have survived a piece of bone from 7,000 years ago. And for them to have worked it out as well. How would you work out where the holes go and the difference in the space? And it's quite a complex thing. Wow. I'm impressed. These are the other websites that I've got up for today. Look, bronze art. We're going to get to that. Bronze Age. Bronze. But before we get to it, next is the Coldstream burial stone, 6,000 years old. Oh no, these are turquoise carvings. I haven't seen those. And blowing flutes. So this one's come from South Africa. Oh, those were Chinese flutes. Chinese flutes, not Japanese. Chinese flutes. Chinese flute, eh? This next one is from South Africa. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the size of it. Don't know how big it is, but yeah, they've got these. They've got hooks for heads or something. Strange, or are they hoods? Strange heads. The Coldstream stone. It's 3 figures in red, black, and white. The central figure appears to be carrying a bow and hunting arrows, and a feather and palette. Bow, hunting arrows, feather, and palette. Hunter-gatherers were the producers of these things. They think it might have been medicine men performing a trance to enter the supernatural world. The stone's well preserved. South African rock paintings and engravings often combine geometric forms with images of humans and animals. Really interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Again, they've gone for these sort of roundy figures, haven't they? Have you heard about the booba and the kaka? You ever heard about the booba and the kaka? So you can see these images here that I've got now in the middle. The booba and the kaka, the kiki. Oh, that's why I've got it wrong, the kiki. These are 2 shapes. One of them is a booba and one of them is a kiki. Now it's up to you to decide which is which. I'm pretty sure you'll instinctively have a feeling, won't you? Which one's the booba and which one's the kiki. And that's because we've studied this. I know all about it. It doesn't matter what language you speak even. It doesn't even matter what language. American undergraduates and Tamil speakers in India, you automatically want the sharper shape to be the kiki. You recognise the sharpness in the image, those angles, with the sharpness in your alliteration. Kiki. And the booba sounds soft and squidgily, and you've automatically associated that with the soft roundy shape. Now it may be that we name things in our world softer roundy words because of this connection. It maybe that's part of it, but it's something internal that we naturally do. Again, a way we naturally respond to art without realising it is to see certain things in such a way that when we represent them in language, we veer towards a style and sound. It's weird, isn't it? So they're boobas and kakas. That's what they are. And I wanted to show you them because I feel these figures have a booba sort of quality. They're roundy instead of being angular on the Coldstream stone. Let's move that so you can see it. Otherwise there's no point in talking to you about it, is there? The kaka, the booba. So that's some 7,000-year-old stone from South Africa. 7,000 years. Next, we've got the seated woman of Catal Huyuk. Turkish terracotta sculpture copy. Let's have a look. Not Google. We don't want Google. F off your Google. We like looking at it on Ecosia. We plant trees every time we have a little look. We have a little look. We plant a little tree. Look up there in the top right. 527. That's 500 trees we've planted. Well, not me personally, but I've contributed to the planting. We all did it together on stream. We're a team. We're a pirate Ganji warrior Puko crew. And we're looking at the seated woman. Bloody hell. Sorry for swearing. But, we're talking about this same period of time. These thousands. This is obviously one of these Venus style. It's got some fertility aspect about it, hasn't it? But look, there's another one here. Look, this one. That's so basic. Catal Huyuk seated figure. So basic. Carved in jade, that looks like. But, that's the sort of thing we expect to see when we're talking about these cave people. Because they lived in caves. They were the very first kind of settlers. The very first people to decide to settle. But some of them were producing extraordinary pieces of art like this. I think what's so extraordinary is it seems to have all these different biological, shape. Like it's got the legs, it's got the tummy, the womb, it's got the boobies, it's got the shoulders, the arms. Then there's these lion heads, tiger heads as part of the seat. The fact that she's seated may have been just a product of the production process. There's another one. This one's broken. It's separate in parts. So maybe they produced it in separate parts, or maybe this was one big piece of rock and it was easier to create seated, but maybe it implied something. Maybe it was, implied the... some religions think of God on a throne. Maybe, the female deity, the Mother Earth, sat on the throne, something like that. Very interesting, isn't it? And you imagine that it would have had more detail back in the day and that some of it's probably eroded and worn away. But what a piece. Probably the most complex, other than the cave paintings and the engravings on the walls, probably the most complex piece of art that we've seen so far. And loaded with significance and meaning. Absolutely loaded with significance and meaning. Now, that wasn't just an image, was it? It wasn't just because... Well, maybe it was, maybe that was someone's grand. Maybe it was the tribal leader. Maybe it was the queen. Maybe it was just a decorative ornament. But to me, it feels loaded with significance. Those tiger heads, the lion heads, whatever they are. The throne, the seats, Because back then they didn't have armchairs, did they? They weren't watching the telly. There's more to it as well from the side view. You can see there's more shape to it, implying they're the shape of the lions and stuff. Or are they dogs? Are they dogs? That's fantastic, isn't it? 6,500 years ago, just before we get onto the Bronze Age, we've got the seated woman. We're whipping through these because we want to see some Bronze Age as well today. We're pushing into the Bronze Age here with this Egyptian. And remember, we said last time that the Egyptians were one of the first... Whoa. Didn't expect this, did you? Did not expect those scary eyes. I was going to say, the Egyptians were one of the first civilizations to settle, to establish a civilization, to become important, to leave a record, to not be nomadic. So these first early important civilizations occur and leave us a lot more record, leave us a lot more things that we can dig up and look at. But this oldest woman with blue eyes, this is one of the oldest Egyptian figures. It's not like the others that you recognise, is it? Like these Tutankhamuni headdressy. That's the Lion of Chanera, portrait of a Maltese king. But this early Egyptian one is just so rudimentary. It's like a piece of stick or bone, possibly ivory. I'll find out in a second. And ancient Afghanistan, this says, it's been like stenciled, punctured to create this image. I don't know if those punctures are supposed to be a covering or hair or implication of something, like are they the eggs of the woman in the womb, or I don't know. But all these punctures, then these blue eyes, these scary blue eyes, these staring blue eyes. It's a bone figurine. Bone. I wonder if those punctuations, those holes, are anything to do with the those punctures, are anything to do with the style of carving those cupules that we looked at before. Someone sat there making carvings, little holes. Maybe they've progressed on in their style and form. I don't know. It's very, very hard to know. Look, there's more of them. Can we make this bigger for you? I probably can, but with some struggle. There we go, it's a bit bigger. Look at them. I mean, some of them look alien, don't they? If you presented these today in a gallery, you said, I've got these figures I'd like to show you, then people would say, what are they supposed to be? Like something from a head shop. Where did they get the blue? Why the blue? Why the blue? Maybe Maybe they knew someone who had beautiful blue eyes, and that's the best they could do at recreating them. But that was Egypt, even Egyptian. Old. Very different from this curvy and voluptuous image, isn't it? Very different. The Egyptian, very straight. I mean, the bones probably restricted the shape of the. I mean, it has got curve, hasn't it? It has got that feminine curve to the hips, but very hard to know what they were driving at, really, isn't it? Very hard to know. And to what purpose again? Why did they have it? What were they doing with it? Persian oh, here we go. Move it so you can see it. Chalcolithic. Chalcolithic. That was after the aliens landed into the pyramid. I always thought the aliens just needed the pyramids to fuel up their spaceships so they could fly off again. Like a big battery charger. We'll move up to that in history. You know, we'll get through all of the history and all of the art, and we'll discover the pyramids at some point, I'm sure. Persian copy that. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at your Persian stone, kids. Get me hat on. Get me Johnny Depp hat on. Johnny Depp. Hey, kids. Ooh. Hey, kids. Do you want to have a look at my Persian Chalcolithic Pottery, kids? You have to get in the back of the van. This is Persian Chalcolithic. I wonder what Chalcolithic means, but these are more what you would expect in a way, aren't they? Even though, to be fair, the shapes of these pots are not easy to produce. You know, the big curve, the inward curve, it might collapse. It's not that easy to produce. Done by hand, of course. Cup period, Chalcolithic date, 3005. So this is approaching Bronze Age, but decorated as well. I mean, and the beautiful, almost modern decoration that is. If you did that today, it would fit in, wouldn't it? People wouldn't be surprised even by someone producing that on a computer, that silhouette of the goat, the stylised horns. Very interesting. Mountain goats, ibex, and it's just a functional item like a jar. You know, something they would have used day to day. Wow. And incredible that thousands of years later, like literally 5,000 years later, we can just dig that up and have a look at it. And this is where it starts. This is where the arts starts. And it's really important to note, actually, that a lot of this, obviously we did just type in pottery, so we are looking at pottery, but a lot of these items, these art items, are not paintings, are they? They're painted, they're decorated, but they're not paintings. Of course, art style has been influenced by the ability to create, like, if you don't have a canvas and paintbrushes, you can't. I'm still wearing the Johnny Depp hat, hang on. If you don't have a canvas and paint and how would Johnny Depp say it? If you don't have a canvas, come here, Amber. But today, when you talk about art, if you said to someone, "Oh, I'm an artist," they're like, "Oh, what do you paint?" And like, "Let me see a painting." You assume today people have got this funny idea that being an artist means that you're really good at detailed painting. You know, for a while they didn't have photographs, they had no cameras, so if you wanted to show someone something, you had to paint an image of it. I get it. You had to be a really good draftsman, a really good. My uncle was a draftsman. He drew architectural plans on very accurately before computers. Very accurate drawing, no mistakes. With the protractors and rulers, and he had a big desk and all these rulers on it. Yeah, really interesting. But is it art? There's a craft to it, there's an art to it, of course, but is it art? I mean, yeah, but not in the fine art sense that we're talking about. And the ability to reproduce faithfully an image from memory or real life, you know, to paint it perfectly like a photograph. I used to be in an art society, and there were some people there who could really faithfully reproduce real life like a photograph. But why do we need that? We've got photographs. I've got a couple of lovely paintings that are very realistic and lifelike of our dogs. But the thing I like most about them is they're not real photographs, that they have this element of artistry in them. There's a bit of the voice of the artist in the way they've painted it and things like that. You know, there's some movement in the brush strokes. So there is something special that can come from painting it. But if you're just going to paint it exactly like a photograph, if that's what you think the best artist is, someone who can reproduce image, it's not, I mean, that's a modern idea, like I'm saying. It's a funny idea that seems to have taken over people's idea of what a good artist should be. It sits high in their mind, being able to draw things well. But that's not what it is. That's not what it is. This person who produced this goat, that's you know, fantastic, isn't it? Art. They couldn't, or maybe they could and didn't reproduce faithfully and accurately an image of an ibex, but it's so much more artistic, and it's 7,000 years old. Like I said, you could do that today. You could start today as an artist with that as your style and be taken, absolutely accepted in the world as a modern designer. Couldn't you? And yet it's just not modern. Just not modern. It's like 5,000 years old. Wow.
Want it?